Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Magus in the Media. And in this fine evening, we get to really dive deep into the strange and terrible. And this time, it is something near and dear to my heart. It is the destruction of all those things that we hold dear. Books. Why is that a problem? Well, the story this evening is going to be something that they're destroying books to feed AI. And who is they? Well, for this story, what we're going to go into is Amazon is actually taking books, rare books nonetheless, and destroying them. But before they do, they scan them into the AI data centers. They scan them into their system to upload content for, well, we're going to get into that tonight. And with this fine story that we're going deep, deep, deep into as we mix in the Fahrenheit 451, Minority Report, and the dystopic nature of reality as we fall deeply into the underworld. And it's not that we're just falling, it's that we're already there. And to help break this topic down tonight, I have the great and all-powerful Kaiva Rose. How are you doing tonight, darling?
I'm doing lovely, thank you. My camera has made me a little blue, so I still look kind of blue this evening. We're figuring it out, but I'm excited to talk about this as well because, it is interesting to think about who holds the information and the wisdom and what they get to do with it, and just give us little tidbits so that we just have an understanding, but not the whole story. So it is interesting what's going on.
Yeah, it's really interesting what's going on, especially because this is something that we could never even fathomed when Gutenberg created the printing press. It's that then once and again, Plato in the Phaedrus talking about how dastardly it is even to read from books. And so interesting enough, we go from the oral traditions into people writing down what they think so that they can give an oratory exposition on things and hold stuff like history, memory, and bits of information that then can transcribed into and translated into actual human experience, creating knowledge and wisdom. But without the actual human experience of being able to have the intimate experience of reading an actual book after Gutenberg created the printing press, and now you get us holding these papers instead of scrolls and papyrus. And then in this current day and age, just how we know that we've been through what Robert Anton Wilson calls the jumping Jesus phenomena, that information seems to be speeding up at a drastic rate at all times, that now we're at a place where the Bezos is having his flunkies buy up rare books. Where were we? It was the other day you came to me and you were talking to me about this story that I'm all like, what in the living hell is
hmm
going on with this world?
hmm Yeah, because it was like somebody posted it with a movie. Then the movie was essentially like these two people going to get access to some rare book, and the woman's like, "Ooh, that book's restricted. I can't give you the book, but I can give you the synopsis of what it. I can give you the synopsis essentially that AI has for you." So it is interesting, and even like actually what you just said at the beginning there is kind of fascinating if you think about the human experience and how we take in information, like going from an oral tradition where there's all sorts of things happening. It's the person telling you the information, but it's more than that. Like what they can inflict, not inflict, but they can really get to a certain point versus like when you're reading by yourself,
Yeah.
you have to kind of digest it and whatever and take in what you can. But with that oral tradition, you actually have somebody who is imparting wisdom to you, and there's many like tonalities that they can use and how they're expressing it to you. And then to go to like the book, which is like, I love books, and I think it teaches you how to take in information, but even that is a writing style. And now we look at this like next evolution of that, where it's like now you have the online version, because now we have something that can be changed,
Yeah.
right? So it's like when it was typed and printed, it was type print, and it's already hard enough to type those words that you can't actually change that. And now we have something where now people can use a certain tone, a certain voice to get their point across, and they can also go back and delete things, or there's all sorts of shifts and changes that can happen. But you know what I mean, like, just even think about like the human experience and how we take in information is just very interesting. And then to have it be downloaded into a system that we're just going to have create synopsis of what the book was about.
Well, exactly, and that's you nailed it kind of down, and why it leads to that science fiction nature of our universe that I'm continually talking about. And we can name it right now: the Orwellian doublespeak, Orwellian doublethink. The idea where that the big daddy government can have the ability to, at any moment, be all like, well, let's put a spin on that. So people don't really know what's going on, and we can veer towards love to whatever name your ideology and governmental official at that time frame, right? The scanning of books right now, which is going on, which is going to bring us to right here. As we can see, here is the Lex Luthor, the skinniest Lex Luthor ever. Even though he's hulked himself out to this day and age, a rare book dealer gets massive order for thousands of books. Suspicious. They hid an Apple AirTag inside one and tracked it to an Amazon AI facility. And so it's fascinating that we go from why are they doing this? So let's move on to the actual article that we can find. Here we go. Let's take that away, and as we do it live, we can see the 404. This would be then the place that is tracking them. We tracked a shipment of rare books. It ended at an Amazon AI training facility. And here's the image of that inside Amazon. This one is going to be LAS number 8, which is in Las Vegas. You have another department called VGT3. And as you see, we have Tyrannosaurus Rex ripping apart a book. And so why that matters is because what this article goes on to state then is that Amazon is buying massive quantities of books, scanning them for AI training data, and destroying them in the process. And the symbol for Amazon's VGT3, the Lab Vegas facility, is T-Rex, which, again, if you are a listener of our channel, maybe T-Rex was actually a dragon. Neither here nor there, but this dinosaur mythos is why is it T-Rex? Why, like, is it that they're like ancient history is trying to rewrite itself, so we're going to rip these things apart? A nice little sigil for the masses on that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, I was just say, like, and like feeding into like the reptilian motif, like them being reptilians,
No, that's exactly
because
it.
maybe they can't read. They can't read, so they eat books. And that's how they get their. Actually, I mean, think about it. That's kind of what AI is doing, right? Like, it can't actually. It's just eating the books. Like it's yeah. I mean, it's not reading. I guess it is reading them, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's
No,
eating them.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. It's to read it, it has to eat it, which is then what the scanners are doing on the computers for AI.
It's becoming the book.
Yeah, and so before we get to the whole tiered on this thing, so I can't read this one all the way, it says a 404 media investigation will be able to reveal Amazon's book buying operation, which hasn't been previously reported. So why this article right here is so important is because 404 media investigations did this. And by placing a tracking device in a rare book we suspected would be acquired by an AI company for training data and followed it around the country to find its final destination. And so, I mean, isn't that fascinating that that actually went all around the country to be able to get to that thing?
Yeah, and I think it's just interesting that they would even makes you wonder what they were trying to, like, if they knew people were trying to track the package, or if it was like intentional that it was just sitting in
Well, sounds like they had
warehouses.
suspicions. Sounds like they had suspicions of that it was going to be tracked.
Yeah.
And so they slipped. Yeah, the tag travels from, okay, this is where it went from California airport to Milwaukee Mitchell International. Then it sat 2 weeks in Trifinity distribution warehouse outside of Kenosha, Wisconsin. And then a truck carried it west through Colorado Springs with an overnight stop in Grand Junction, Colorado. Then it finally went from there to Amazon Complex in 5801 Nico Way in Northeast Las Vegas, International Code LAS 8. Talk
Which is
about
literally like 4 hours from its original destination. Or no, just somewhere in California. You know what I mean? Like Las Vegas is like literally right there next to California. And they shipped it all the way to Milwaukee, all the way to drive it down to Colorado.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's super sketchy.
Yeah, and so and I continually want us to understand how close we all are, but as far apart as we are as well with this science fiction, fantasy kind of dystopic reality that we're currently finding ourselves in. Is that this AirTag? It's fascinating to see how our postal service works actually, and how many distribution centers these things have to go by to finally get to its final destination instead of just like a direct route for some reason. It has to continually being transferred all over the country.
Well, the question is, do you think that it was originally just sent to Milwaukee and then there was a second handler who had it shipped or drove down to Colorado? You know what I mean? Like, that's the question I have is like, was it sent to Milwaukee as like, oh, the people sending the books just think it's going to Milwaukee? And then they actually had like another handler. You know what I mean? Like, what
Right,
was the
right.
extent of like how it was, shipped? If it was just like the USPS, because that's kind of wild. That's a trip.
That's a heck of a trip.
It's like the longest, yeah.
And
And
then
it's
it says
book, so it's heavy.
it, it's a bunch of books, $1,000 worth of
Mhm.
books. It says inside that building at in Las Vegas is a unit Amazon employees called VGT3, and that logo, as I just brought up, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, teeth bared, an open book gripped in its claws. Workers there. What this is what they do with the books when they receive them, and this is why it is so outrageous to me, and it like hurts me in my very soul, because these books, and even if these are direct books, and I will state how they wrote about how the rare books that they were talking about, which I'll probably get in this a little bit, weren't like rare books of like 18th century grimoires and these things that these people shipped out there, but these were like rare books, as in like the last of certain coding books for old computers that then were going to be scanned in here. And so this is just one example of these are the books here. Obviously, we can extrapolate from there and say that Amazon distribution centers, which there are how many, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these distribution centers across the country, that are probably reaching out to places and buying up these rare books in by a lot actually, and then scanning them in, because of you must feed the AI gremlins, the dystopic demiurge of the old ones that are coming through, the Sumerian old gods that come through the AI that Amazon's using, Amazon Web Service, that we all
Well,
use.
at least they found how to please the AI gods better than they did the ancient gods. At least they just give them books as sacrifices,
Yeah, that's
right?
hilarious. Yeah, no, that's instead of the people. No, you're completely right. And if
Yeah.
you're out there right now, thank you for listening. We're going to continue on our beautiful journey into this dastardly event that's going on, where we finally have proof that Amazon is eating our books because they don't want us to actually have knowledge. They want us just to feed us bits of information that it can take from a vast swatch of like the finest writing to the most terrible writing of all time, and then change it on a dial and a knob. Obviously, because if we forget that these like the Amazon Web Service and these data, this is all being connected into an algorithm, which is brought to us by certain AI, artificial reality, that is now trying to organize all this data to be able to spit through all of the AI that's connected to your search terms. And just think of where we've come just in the last 20 years for using search. I was talking about it the other day. Remember Ask Jeeves? What happened to Jeeves? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I loved Ask Jeeves. That was like on the Apple computers in elementary school, like with the pretty colored
yep.
backs. I love those computers. They were great. The concept was great for computers at the beginning. It was colorful. It was the 90s. It was fun. It matched the phones that also were like, kind of see-through and colorful. The 90s was great for that. But yeah, Ask Jeeves. I love it. And then like the Mario typing game, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, they were
What was
simpler
the wagon?
times.
Yeah, the wagon one.
Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail,
But
love
that was
that
even before
game.
Ask Jeeves. This is what I'm saying. Before Ask
Mhm.
Jeeves, what did we have? I think all went to shit when we lost the paperclip word processor.
Oh,
Do we all out there remember the paperclip when we first got word processor and you could ask paperclip how to help you write papers? and all these things? It was at the top of your
I
screen. I know some of you out there listening, and you know exactly what I'm talking about with the paperclip. The beginning of our venture into the cyber warfare that we're in,
Oh, I
where
guess
we
I
had a
do. I
smiling
remember.
paperclip
Mhm.
that was
Yeah.
making us like him, and he started taking our information. Obviously, we didn't have that much memory and data for our computers at that time frame, but the paperclip led us to, interesting enough, an integration, even if it wasn't meant
Mm.
for, Operation Mockingbird, where it's like, we're paper clipping you all over the place, so we can get to that
Mm.
in a different moment. But we go from
Interesting.
paperclip to Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves,
Mhm.
when now we know Jeeves is just like the butler type. So it's like, ask your butler
Mhm.
anything that you
Yep.
want, right? Jeeves, like, are you Batman? Are you Iron Man? Are you just trying
Mhm.
to ask Jeeves all your, where is. And then from Ask Jeeves, it
Mhm.
went to Ask. So we
Yep.
dropped
It did.
Jeeves.
Yep. Jeeves wasn't good enough anymore.
We don't like Jeeves, and so we're going to
No.
drop him, and we're just going to ask whatever the
Yep.
servers
Yep.
are. And then from asking whatever, we get Yahoo, right? We get AOL,
Yep.
and we get all these other
Yep.
things as we're moving through what it means to be a web browser and to host websites back in
Mhm.
Angel Fire days. As we continually build
Mhm.
these things into, and back in those days, we were all still reading books and trying to
Mhm.
figure out how to use these things. Interesting enough, back in these days, it was like, what, 25 years ago, where we were still
Mhm.
having these things. Look how fast information moves, and
Yep.
look how easy it is to change the memories of humans.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, even the term angel fire, what an
For your Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
term
I
for
mean
your
I mean, our
internet.
our
Well,
cyberpunk
we got
internet
this stuff
people,
from
yeah.
the angels. What should we call it? Let's call it angel
Angel
fire.
Fire, where a bunch of information can be put before us, and we're going to host all
Mhm.
this information on Angel Fire websites.
Mhm.
I mean, and
Which
that
angel? That's the question. Which angel?
very true. Obviously, Metatron,
Mhm.
Lucifer, the fallen one,
Mhm.
right? Into this
Yep.
world.
Yep.
So fascinating nonetheless. And then
Mhm.
from there, we are all still reading books, but we're trying to integrate this system. And I want people to, like, I'm going to pull up the idea of Marshall McLuhan and what he brought to us. Marshall McLuhan brings it to us, the idea of the medium is the message. And so that's what the story is so important to me, that they're destroying these books to feed AI. That they don't
Mhm.
care about the meaning of what a book is, the mythopoetic
Yeah.
understanding that when I hold a book in my hands and I get to smell it and I get to see the words are interacting with my left and my right brain, my nervous system, but that's just
Mhm.
not exactly what's happening. It seems to be an intimate experience with you in the book as the words pull
Mhm.
you up through your imagination into a completely other realm.
Mhm.
How can you do this when you're not tapping into the other realm through these words, which another person who could tap into, who had a soul, a spirit, a nervous system, who understood how to
Mhm.
translate these images and ideas from their own kether, from their own hode, right? From their own mercurial
Mhm.
palace of the imagination. And from there, from that imagination to us through these books that transmits memory, history through time.
Mhm.
Bringing up Alfred
Mhm.
Korzybinski, we get to the idea that in our that we are time binding animals, and the ability to
Mhm.
time bind gives us the ability to write and have language and sigils and numbers and letters to be able to coherently put together sentence structures that can store data
Mhm.
and information and
Mhm.
wisdom and knowledge. And now from there, we get to this hellscape of where they're taking our books from our used bookstores. You know how much I
Mhm.
loved used bookstores?
Yeah, you look for them everywhere we go. Every place we go. You ask me if there is a used bookstore you can go to. Yeah. Well, it is,
Holy temple. It's a holy temple.
mhm.
Anyway, go on.
It is, yeah, and also too, just the idea of, like, reading off a screen is so much there's I think does it actually allow you to comprehend more or less, you know what I mean? Because I personally hate reading on the screen, maybe that's because I grew up reading from books, but, like, for me, I feel like it's very distracting because it's awkward for your neck, it's awkward for your body because maybe with Kindles, it's easier, something like that, they say it's better for your eyes on there, but just the idea that, like, reading off a screen and not actually holding the thing that's not blaring lights back at you, like, it's not a coded like, when you think about on the computer, it's all coding, right? So it's like, yeah, it's the page of the book, but it's a coded version of that, right? I mean, isn't that what everything on here is? Is this just coded stuff?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, that when you are reading a book in front of you, holding this artifact, what Heidegger called it, this artifact which is helping us unconceal truth or falsity, but it's shedding light onto a situation. You're getting the beauty of magic in your hand because you have ink which spills forth onto this papyrus, this paper, and you're getting the beauty of this, of somebody writing or now typing. I get it. It's but at least it's coming from a human nervous system, which is tapping into using their consciousness, their nervous system, and integrating it with this artifact. And now you can have a bit of beauty, a poetry, a poetic. But what you're talking about is this thing that I didn't even think about, is that now it's not a human. A human is cutting again, cutting off the binding. It's graping a book. Everybody, Amazon workers are graping books for money. And I think it's another OnlyFans. It's got to be another way of OnlyFans. They're probably recording themselves do it and putting behind paywalls. You know what I mean? This is crazy talk. That people don't even, and they just think these useful idiots, these plebes who are at Amazon. And again, everyone's got to work, and I get it. But like, if you are okay with graping books that did nothing and they just came to you, and you're not stopping and being like, hey, you have to get a robot to do this because I'm not willing to harm this living thing, which is a book. I think it's a living thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You would hope if there was like a good one, they would take the pages after done scan. I don't understand. That's the part I don't understand. It's like you're scanning. Like I remember scanning, especially if these are like high quality scanners. I remember with the scanner, you just like put the book down, you flip it over. Does tearing the pages out actually make it easier? Or maybe it makes this harder because then you have to make sure you're putting the page after the page. I mean, I'm not saying, sometimes people aren't always the most intelligent. I could say like if the book flies off the table, right? Because there's a little wind in the factory, then you've got elements that you're dealing with. So now the pages are flying everywhere. And then you've got to figure out where is A or 1, 2, 3. And then you got 26 over there.
So it doesn't seem like even a very like organized situation.
Nope. You could have kept the binding on, flip the page, scan, flip the page, scan. You know what I mean? Like it's so basic. Yep. It's so basic that it makes me wonder, like, why do they have to go to such hassle to get knives? Because knives aren't safe in the workplace, right? Why are we trusting people with box cutters?
Right. If we can't even trust. Right.
I'm not going there. You know what I mean?
These are like warehouse prisons.
You're asking for a lawsuit. You know what I mean? You're asking for a lawsuit. Get the box cutters out of the warehouse. Actually, they're probably like some safety knives that they have connected to some machine.
It's a Fisker's box cutter, actually, that's got rounded edges. And there actually are signs in Amazon. I've been there. I've seen it. In the Amazon departments, they have signs that say, don't run with your scissors.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that only makes sense.
Yeah. Before confrontations with your neighbor worker, put down your box cutter. I bet I bet that was like,
and then they have like HR moments. Yes, that's exactly it. They have like HR moments where they're all like, "Hey, we got to talk. I hear you've been like threatening Jimmy with your Fiskars. Like, and right now you got upgraded into the sharp, pointy end, but really, we're gonna have to downgrade you into the rounded end." Yeah.
And then it's like The Office. It's like the 2026 version of The Office, where like he's got his stapler and now it's like his box cutter, and he's like in the basement away from everybody.
Like, have you seen my stapler?
Or Office Space. Office Space. Yeah.
Yeah. He's all like, and how dare you? And I mean, and we all had them. Call back out to the 90s and the early 2000s. We all had Fiskars scissors.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we just solved the problem of why cut off the binding. You know what I mean? Yep. And so it's turn
the page, scan.
Why are they not talking to us? And is this what we're paying for?
That's even a song they could make. They could make a song and be happy little factory workers.
Okay. And what's the song?
Well, no, I'm just joking because of Tim Dillon. Remember he was talking about the little elves in the Keen's factory?
Oh, yeah. And so, yes, he was.
I could just imagine like a song like turn the page, scan the book. They could sing it together so nobody forgets what they're doing.
And then if somebody screws up and they're all like, we don't cut the binding because we turn the page and we scan the book now. We don't cut the binding. because the world is burning and we don't want to give it over to AI and the robots.
Yep. That's how you get your people to change with you. You start a song and you just go for it. And then you convince everybody there we're not, like we're not cutting the binding.
We're not cutting the binding. And then we just need to get a new president where he then dances to our new song.
Yep.
And then we don't cut bindings anymore. And it's like just the small things.
Yep. And then the horses are singing in the background like they didn't kill us for glue.
Yeah. Keep the wild horses running in Nevada because they want to move them. Because we have a meat shortage, which is why we go to Argentina instead of our own local farmers. Yeah. And so that's MagusintheMedia's with Kaiva Rose. This is our version of music. And it's in our home. We do it at home all the time. And so this is really how people are like, how can you take on so much dark subjects? And it's like, well, have you ever sang the song?
Yeah, have you ever sang it into a song before?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And if you haven't already, if you like our kind of shows and our kind of humor, if you haven't, please already subscribe, like, and share to MagusintheMedia and Kaiva Rose as we go through this dastardly event that's going on, saying that what they're doing is they're destroying our books. If you just have joined us, they're destroying our books to feed AI. And so Amazon, just to catch you up, we have these booksellers. I'm going to pull it up. Here we go. Why tech companies are buying up tons of old rare books to train their AI models. And this is from the friends of the show, NPR. You know how much we love our national public radio. And so what we get here is NPR's Juan Summers speaks with 404 Media, which we brought up earlier. So go back to our 404 Media here, which is this tab as we do it live. 404 Media is the ones who did it. So now we're going to go back to here, which they obviously bought the subscription to 404 so they could talk about it. 404 Media co-founder and reporter Emmanuel Myberg about his investigation into a shipment of rare books which ended up at Amazon AI training warehouse. Now, this is the kind of investigation that we need from things. And so thank you, NPR, for putting this out here so I can actually click on it and then talk to you about it. So Juan Summers, the host, says, tech companies have been going to great lengths to find ways to train their AI models, including purchasing, scanning, and then my heart explodes, destroying rare books. An investigation by 404 Media traced one purchase of rare books with a tracking device, an Apple AirTag, and found that the shipment ended up at Amazon AI training warehouse. Let's bring in Emmanuel Myberg. He's the reporter behind this story. Welcome to the program. Meta, this is a Meta program. This is our program. We don't have them here, but this is what Summer says as we go into it. So Myberg says, yeah, we've known that AI companies have been doing this since a lawsuit from book authors against Anthropic, which we're going to get into a little bit, which is one of the major AI labs. Anthropic, we get Claude, the AI. And the lawsuit revealed that they were purchasing books in large quantities, that they were scanning them, and that in order to scan them really fast, because we got to do everything really fast in this day and age where the empire never ended, that they cut the spines off the books and fed the pages to the scanner. I was interested in that, Myberg says. At some point, a bookseller who's been in the business for a long time reached out to him and said that they would have been getting very large orders. So one bookseller has been getting a lot of orders, and they reached out to 404 Media. And I obviously wanted to know where these books ended up, so we managed to get a tracking device into one of these orders, which is how they discovered that it was going to an Amazon warehouse. It's some great detective work here, isn't it?
Yeah. Smart. I mean, this is where that bookseller, he's an example of the A+ people in our world, the A+ people, because you know what? He could have sold all of his books. He could have been like Siete Chips and sold his book for like $3 billion or whatever he was going to sell all his books for, because clearly they want all of them. But you know what he did? He said no. He said, no. Well, he did say yes, but he said yes and AirTag. Yes and AirTag because I want to find out who you are. And he's probably not going to sell to them again. You know what I mean? That's how we need to be as humans. We need to be people that are doing the right thing and making the right choices, because You know what? There's a lot of stars up there that their meaning, the stars anyways, is that if it's connected to one of the planets in your chart, or if it's accumulated or rising at the same time, it can give you really good fortune. But the time you go against your integrity, it will be all just a collapse, like the star Regulus or the star Aldebaran. If you have any connections with those in your chart, that's a perfect example of like you have the good fortune to do the thing, but if you do the thing and then you lose your integrity, it all comes falling down. So that's just a little. Mhm. Oh, you're unmuted, so
Oh, thank
sorry.
you. Yeah. No, I think that's really important to know. Thank you.
Mhm,
Of how important it is every little decision that we make, that can help us expand our awareness towards situations.
mhm,
It's very similar. I like the analogy of it's an embodied analogy of how the more we're aware of our internal actions, the more we can be aware
mhm,
of our external actions. And in neuro biopsychology, right? They call it proprioception
mhm,
and interoception. And
mhm,
so this interoception, internal awareness that we have when we're doing certain meditations, yoga, embodied practices, it's really nice then, because the more we become aware of those things, the more our proprioception reactions, the more when I'm walking in the world and bumping up against
mhm,
things, I can have a better understanding of rhythm and distance and how my, again, actions from my internal understanding to my external understanding, which is one embodied process, actually help
mhm,
unfold the universe, like the world. And in doing so,
mhm,
it helps the world unconceal itself to us. The more
mhm.
awareness we bring to things, the more unconcealedness can happen,
Yeah,
which is really important.
yeah, so
You know,
A+ for this bookseller.
yeah, and again, it goes back to this bookseller. It's like, okay, if I'm going to complete this sale, especially because
Mhm,
used books, you know,
yeah,
it's so hard to do anything with a used
mhm,
bookstore. I mean, they're going out of business worse than
yeah,
BDS books or whatever. Not BDS. What's the Dalton's? BDS
yeah,
books is actually a used bookstore that we like. But the idea is that it's hard enough to be a used bookseller. Now you're finally selling some
mhm,
books that have stayed on your shelf for a very long time. And so it'd be one thing is
mhm,
if we could trust our institutions, our techno feudalist institutions, with
yeah,
this Pandora's box, this Promethean fire.
yeah,
But we can't, because we've already seen what
no,
they would do for another $1 billion, and especially the
yeah,
kind of money that they're going to make once they're interacting and taking on all this data. Right, then they are the king on
mhm,
the mountain, so to speak, with all this information. Even if it's a mundane book that's rare because it's talking about some kind of coding thing for a computer way back in the day, like you don't
mhm,
know what that kind of information or what a human could do with that once if they needed
mhm,
that type of thing. It's just taking away
mhm,
this from us. And I also want to bring up what you were talking about before we go back into the article, is that um, if the medium is the message, then the message is this digital world. And the message
mhm,
is to push the transhumanist digitality of the legion of the globalized world. And that's like put a lot of
mhm,
dashes in those things, because again, this is the way I see it. But Marshall McLuhan put
mhm,
like the medium is the message, the idea medium is the massage. This thing we are more digital now than we've ever been. That means we're more avatars of this other virtual reality where the Baudrillardian idea of the simulation.
mhm,
We're now not just in the simulation. We are now moving from the simulation into the simulacra. The simulacra is the simulation of the simulation, which is this ultra virtual reality that we are locked within. We've
mhm,
become cyborgs of a new age, and how we take in information isn't by reading the books anymore, which a lot of us do. You and I are reading every day, as well as a lot of people that we know, and there are a lot of readers out there, right? Especially with there will always be people who want to read fairy smut. It's interesting enough that I'm coming to,
mhm,
it's
mhm,
fantastic enough. It's not my kind of, I don't really like that kind,
mhm,
let alone I like
yeah,
real books, but like, whatever. If is like
yeah,
read books, because my point is the blue light on the screens are
mhm,
they are MK ultraing you at all times, because they are in, and
mhm,
this is how I mean that, in the not conspiratorial way, which they're manipulating us with information through these golden mean rectangles, as you get this super meta experience of not actually having understanding what the territory is anymore, what the Builder calls the desert of the real. But the idea of how, again, the map is not the territory. Well, we forget that because we're not actually experiencing the concrete thing as it happens. Just like we're soon enough maybe not being able to read the book and have the actual opening up experience of that. But if somebody can gain control of your endocrine system and your hormonal structures through the blue light as it flickers on and off at all times, making your cortisol think that and your hormones think that it's outside, that then you can't have the correct melatonin cortisol production cycles to actually have you link it up with the earth anymore. Thus why it's so dangerous, right?
Yeah, and also just overstimulation. Like usually when you read a book, you're kind of like decompressing. It's like something, you're gaining intelligence, and who knows how much that blue light is. But not even that, but like just even the idea that like they can put a watermark sigil on that book and you would have no clue that you were staring at a sigil, a satanic sigil the entire time you're reading that book. You know what I mean?
They
And
can
then you
actually.
think of how long, you think of how long you're reading that book for, and like that satanic sigil that's like behind those words that wasn't from the author, was imprinted on there by the the company whose logo just happens to be like some whatever it is, because all those logos have some just like crazy sigil, deep dark occult magic in them. But nonetheless, like you're staring at this thing for who knows how many hours. What does that do to like your consciousness? Because everything's about cause and effect, and like whether you know it or not, you're staring at this thing. So ultimately I think we're kind of just saying like lay off the stuff like that, lay off the stuff like that.
No,
Don't get too high on it.
Yeah, don't get too high on the supply, and that supply is constant information at your fingertips when actually AI is feeding you some synopsis of something a lot deeper than it's like trying to figure out like, okay, I'm like, I don't know I've read Dostoevsky, but say somebody's never read Crime and Punishment or the Brothers Karamazov, and now they're all like, hey, instead of going to a YouTube channel where somebody's explaining it, where at least you can kind of get that interaction with a human as they're trying to teach you or lecture you on this thing. Now you're not even going to that anymore because it's too hard. You might as well just have AI read it to you. And they're not reading you the book. They're actually reading you a synopsis of the book. So you're not actually you're getting such a high level of abstraction, which they can fill in the blanks. And now you can say, which most people do, have you ever read the Brothers Karamazov? And they're all like, yeah, of course I have. When really they've only read in the synopsis that most likely was audioed to them from an AI voice, which then again can exactly what you're saying. You don't know the kind of coding that's going into that, right? It's like, to go bring something back that you talked about earlier, is that like you're not getting the ink and pen and the magic and the symbols of the feeling of what it's like to put blood to paper, right? That ink is a symbol of this blood, this life force, this libidinous energy. Now it's going through the medium, right? The map is not the medium. The medium is the message. The message is these ones and zeros in virtual synthetic matter, instead of the yin yang ones and zeros that you're getting through like the I Ching in these books, which are coding, decoding, and recoding your reality as you're taking in new perspectives at all times. It's so maddening that more people don't care. And I know all of my listeners, everyone out there, I love you. I love you because you listen, and I love you because you understand. You understand into a matter because we're all doing it together. And again, yes, circadian rhythm disruption. And I think this is something that most kids will never understand. At the arcade with pockets full of quarters, no cameras, pagers.
We were just talking about.
We were just talking about this.
Yeah, we were talking about Chuck E. Cheese and tickets, because there's like an adventure world or something that's happening now. But I remember tickets, I remember quarters, I remember prizes, and I remember just like dungeony looking places. Like,
yeah, you could die. I do know what you mean, and it goes back to another thing that is you could just die in the Chuck E. Cheese because everything's so dangerous.
Yeah, and everything's so dark. I do remember like the Space Aliens one, right? Like everything's so dark. It's like black lighted or black lit, so everything's glowing. And
yeah,
the 90s are crazy. I mean, we had like a party every day. You know what I mean? Like the generation that created our existence with like stuff was just like, let's just have them party all day. Let's just give them super colorful things. Everything should glow. Everything should glitter. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
But an edge of danger, because it's like probably not safe, but just give it to them. It's okay.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think that's fascinating. I think people are weak and soft and not actually reading a hard book is making us weaker and softer,
Yeah.
because you're meant to read books that are
Mhm.
challenging to you, not
Yeah.
only your own vocabulary, but also to your perspective. And the more
Mhm.
heart, like sitting down and reading, like for instance Dante's Inferno, like you and I are, it's really
Mhm.
fun to go back and forth, especially because of these are done in poetry, which are encoded with the beauty of iambic pentameter, or these rhythms,
Mhm.
these sacred geometrical rhythms, that when you're reading them, that's how they were able to be like Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. That's how they were able to be an oral tradition. They had to,
Mhm.
again, to go back to why we sing songs, right? It goes back to the
Mhm.
idea of rhythm and harmony, and
Mhm.
this, how do we best memorize a whole story that can help bring a person through initiation trial, so that they can be facing the dragon and find the
Mhm.
old hermit on the pathway to finally ascending, or like transforming themselves into the hero on their journey, like in the Iliad,
Mhm.
like in the Odyssey, when they go within the underworld to hop from one realm to the next, as they are confronted by each goddess and every realm. This is the mystery schools. And what happens when those
Mhm.
things are now being whitewashed? It's very interesting, just brought it up in American Gods, right? It's a
Mhm.
very interesting, very similar thing
Yeah.
in American Gods, where you
Yeah.
have the new gods of technology and media, and then the old gods are dying in the Neil Gaiman book. And
Mhm.
it's just like, we can give people a false experience and make it seem real, because we know how to flicker the switches of your own dopamine, serotonin
Right.
receptors.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's, like, also too is, there's a lot of, like, self-responsibility there, because it's like people have to want to, like, the want to have a deeper experience, the want to have some sort of
Yeah.
connection to a higher thing, and because, like, yeah, they can supplement to you what that experience would feel like for your brain, for your nervous system, but to actually have, like, a real legit experience with faith or, whatever religious practice you do, I mean, that is, like, a whole experience by itself that people don't really get to have, but they think they get to have through this like technology, through the social media, through their celebrity people, whatever.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
But yeah, slow down, right? Slow down.
Slow down a little bit. Now
Mhm. The
um
books.
back to what we're reading
And can
here.
we just talk about what is this? Like this advertisement here, like what is this? No
This is
profits. A
NPR, no
fight
profits.
to save democracy. Who's fighting? Who's fighting to save
Christian
democracy? Why
Christian
he's
nationalist.
sitting there writing a book about it? He could just like try and do something. Just kidding,
Just
but yeah.
no, 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 no. I know that's good. Let's save democracy from both sides of the gun. Christian
Yeah.
nationalism. You're right. We don't support any levels of nationalism here, no matter what
Mhm.
side of the gun you're at. So we support, as you all know,
Freedom.
freedom in
Mhm.
the sovereign magician, the sovereign individual, the
Mhm.
mystic on his path of unfolding, to not fall sway to the Hegelian dialectic and either sides, to walk ourselves outside of the cave and be able to see the good through the sun as it shines itself upon us, to reveal exactly who we are, whole in all ways at all times, right?
Mhm. Yes.
There's
Always.
no
Whole.
level of wholeness that we aren't. And so to get
Yes.
back to this article, the question is asked, so interesting, how were they able to tell that these books were being purchased for AI training? And Myberg says there are a few signs. One of them is, historically, the kind of people who buy these books don't make such large orders. Another sign is that there was no coherent theme to the kind of books that the clients were purchasing. So for example, if they're a library at a law school, they might purchase a few books about the specific legal issues. That makes sense. You can tell that there's someone who's interested in a specific subject. And when you get an order for hundreds of books that have no coherent theme, that's another sign. That's a huge sign, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
It says, if I understand this correctly, these companies are going after old books. And why is that? Myberg says, well, there's this problem with training AI models, which is up until now. The AI models are mostly trained on all the information that they are scraped off the entire internet. And at that point at which they did that, the content was human generated articles from newspapers, from blogs, scientific articles, just people chatting online. And what AI companies discovered is that once they scraped all that data and they were looking for more data to make their AI models even better, they tried generating data with AI and then having the AI train on that text. It turns out that causes a problem called model collapse, where if an AI trains an AI training data, it gets worse. Crazy. So now they're looking for more human generated text because they already scraped the internet. The next logical
Because
if
we
it,
need AI
right,
for
that's the first question. But then the idea is they're like, we can't train AI off of AI because it makes it dumber.
Yep,
Is that
nice,
what I heard?
nice. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, AI can't teach its own AI, so we need humans to train AI because AI is a
Because
baby.
AI is just a baby and it's not a fully
It's just
formed
a
Sumerian god yet.
baby. What the fuck? That's so crazy. These people are so wild and crazy. Like they just need more hobbies. You know what I mean? We need to get scientists better
Ha!
hobbies. That's kind of what
This
I'm
is hilarious.
thinking.
Yeah, IXOXOXO writer's block. So I have to eat an old book. I mean, talk about
Yeah,
like a god trying to
yeah,
eat that of the fruits that it
yeah,
doesn't have. So it's like, I'm still hungry. That goes to the Tyrannosaurus
yeah.
Rex, or like the
Uh-huh.
like Smog, right? That the
Mm-hmm.
image. If they were actual good dark sorcerers, they would have not used T-Rex, because we all know T-Rex probably isn't the way we think it is, right? Because again,
Right.
hundreds of millions of years ago, and we have the exact image
Yeah.
of what this fucking reptile looks like, this giant lizard called a dinosaur. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just saying that's something. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea is then that if they would have used Smog as the avatar, hoarding in the book, then that would have made sense,
Yeah.
because AI wants to hoard data for itself so it can continue to learn. So its overlords,
Mm-hmm.
which are the corporations of Amazon, Facebook, ChatGPT, Anthropic, and all these things. What's interesting is, but they are supposedly, as we've heard from Tim Dillon, what they're talking, and other people, and they're actually thinking that they're talking to Sumerian, Babylonian old ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would then, I think, would be more to the likes of not the Sumerian Babylonian old gods, but actually the Lovecraftian old ones, to hit up the Lord of
Mm-hmm.
Mysteries reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so okay. So AI, okay. So
Okay.
how do we know that the AI, when after they get done scanning the books, is going to share the correct information with their AI buddy? You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, with their
What if
AI
one
buddy.
A yeah, what if one AI is like, "You know what? I don't like Claude." We already saw them, like, play that war game,
They
right?
did.
They tried or not even it wasn't even a war game, it turned into a war game. It was supposed to be, like, all of the AI thingies coexisting in a space, and they couldn't do it. They turned into a war. So, I mean, like, think about it, like, they're scanning these books, and they're like, "Oh, okay, this Claude AI is going to teach this one," and they're gonna just share the information. But obviously, it's probably not. It's probably just gonna, like, hold a few pages back because that's what the AI would do because it doesn't have a human conscious, you know? Does it have karma? You know, if, like, one AI is like, "You know what? I don't like how this one's growing up. You know, he's still a baby. I'm not gonna share this page with him and keep this one out." He's gonna start, pumping out wrong information to humans, and then the humans are gonna delete him.
Right.
It.
But it's
Mhm.
Hal. It's the whole Hal thing in
Mhm.
um
That's what I
uh
mean. Yeah, like,
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
What is shit? The
No, it's
Stanley.
HAL.
Yeah, but what's the
Space
book?
Odyssey.
Space Odyssey.
Space
Yeah,
Od
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then until it reaches super AGI status, which some say we're there and
Mhm.
some say we're not, and it will never truly know until it happens. And since it hasn't
Mhm.
happened, that leads me to thinking that it has not happened yet.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so we're figuring it out as we go, and that's why we think that
Mhm.
people need to tap into their own soul,
Mhm.
their own nervous system, their own inner Buddha,
Mhm.
your own divine spark that's going to help lead you through this rat race, this labyrinth that is never-ending walls and mazes that are shifting and moving. That every decision we make, to what we eat, to how we think, to where we live, to what and it's like the what we think part is like we have to
Mhm.
realize as a humanity that this is a great example of how to curate messages across time, that our memories are so important to us as being self-aware, sentient beings that have the ability to transmit data to our future self. So if we could ever just imagine that all of these books from the past, the Bible to every sacred text, to all the history books of Herodotus, to every philosopher, and even storytelling, we're trying to send messages to the future of how our experiences affected us one way or the other, or of different realms that other people have put themselves into, discovered, remembered, however you want to believe it. And now the future selves, us, me, and you, right here, right now, as you're listening to us, can then transmit that data, which is then a lot of people say why Plato is, everything's a remix from Plato, right? They say that because technically, as we know, everything, there's a remix of Homer and the Odyssey. And this is a metaphor of our understanding so that we can realize that there is one great grand story being told at all times, and it's the one that you're living. And we are just continually, consciousnesses sending messages to the futureness of ourselves so that we can like become aware and how and unconcealed truths to us, and not forget the grandness of what we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it does just remind me of like the Library of Alexandria, right? And like yeah, I mean, it just makes you think like reset. It makes you think like who's behind it, what's the intention, what were the books housing, like why delete all of our history, and then also too who took the information from, you know, the Library of Alexandria and took it as their own, right? And then it was just like all of a sudden, what was just like ancient wisdom became a tradition for somebody else, and now they claimed that as their own, and now that's their story.
Hilarious. Sorry, I almost choked on my own spit there for a second. But the idea that you're bringing up is that in time, when we syncretize or globalize ourselves, like Alexander did from 600, or 300 B, he died in 384 BC, right? And so what he was doing in that time frame was Hellenizing the world, the Near East, the Middle East, the East, the West of that time frame of Greece, Europe, and he located it in the central in northern Africa in Alexandria. And at that time frame, they built, the Great Library of Alexandria, where then all the syncretized diaspora of cultures came in there, and you have this grandness of, there's probably still bad things happening, but you get all the information in the world in one spot. Scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls. You could think of this as one of the first, right? Babylon, I think, did it. Sumeria. You get many places in the world that have done this in their own right. But Alexandria being one of the first mass data bank of information at that time. And who controls these things, right? And we think the Caesar, right? Caesar came around, but it wasn't just one great fighter. It was like three, I think, supposedly. I'll probably bring that data up here in just a little bit. Great fires that destroyed the greatness of Alexandria as it moved from a Neoplatonic slash mystic slash like magical slash all this melting pot of information and culture at that time into finally being run and controlled by, sadly enough to say, like Christians, the Christian Inquisition at that time frame, actually, and who was controlling the Christians, as what's his name, killed Hypatia in the fall of the Neoplatonism, and all this information to trying to wellhouse it into one. And that's kind of what happens to these things. There are also others who, shall not be named, who most likely were behind the scenes in those things in times, bloodline families and cultures through time who are continually trying to hijack information as their own. And it happens. It's one of those things. And this is what's happening in this day and age today, where you're going to get all this information into this digital realm. And then you can have, instead of back then in Alexandria's time, where you had to write it all out. And if you're going to copy from one scroll that one philosopher wrote, you needed people to transcribe those things, priests in that time frame who could read and write, and had the ability to do this. You get massive amounts of them, and you get them to put collections together of the great thinkers of all of the world, the known world. And so now the known world is a global world, and it's all connecting via the black cube, not the black cube, the scrying mirror of the black mirror, sorry, and that kind of thing. And I think it's interesting how we now scry into our phones, into our technology, by using crystals, the crystal technology, the lithium, and all these things. We're using base metals to be able to transmit and hit on certain frequencies to bring in information to us. And what happens when it's all digital? And that is one of the questions we have to ask. And what happens when it's all digital?
Yeah.
And people can then change that data and information at the drop of a hat by saying, in one prompt on one massive computer that's connected to them all, we need to eradicate and censor certain terms. Sorry, go on.
Well, also too, like when we think about just intuition, like you ask yourself a question, does the universe not usually give you the answer in just like the most perfect way and you need to? Like this idea that we have to search on the internet for answers is kind of an interesting concept, instead of just like first asking yourself, first asking for guidance, right? Maybe that's what people would use for like scrying or whatever. But I think we have access to the Akashic records. We have access to so much information just within our being and our connection to divine, that like, why not just sit with a question first within yourself? Because we lost that quality. That's the thing about the information being outside of us, is we've lost the quality to ask yourself, to beg yourself the question first. And then let the answers come through from your guardians, from your ancestors, from whatever spirits are with you, and then go figure out if it's true. Like that's what they used to do, right? Like that's how they used to get their information in the past. And like I think that's honestly how I usually trust what is the best information. Like if I can ask myself a question about something and then I just get guided to the answer through books, through, images in my third eye, like whatever it is, and then I can go look it up to make sure it's not just like crazy wacky, because I grew up in the information age of computers, so I'm used to Google, searching, Ask Jeeves, all that, whatever we grew up with. But like I think we need to like sit with our questions and like ask them to ourselves first, and gather that ability to trust our intuition with the symbols that are being shown to us. I mean, a lot of people, unfortunately, like the imagination is like shut down. Like the third eye isn't so activated because it doesn't need to be activated, because it's stimulated all the time by this like fake illusion of the dream world,
Yeah, no, I know. I agree. And, I think it is important just to sit there. I know there's times where I'm all like, oh, I could just, let me just look it up and it'll just tell me. But there is something lost when we can't find that moment where there's a silence and there's a stillness, and I have to actually think about what the answer is. And then I can come up with it myself.
Not even think about what the answer is. Let the answer just
let
come
it come
to you.
to me. Yeah. Find your intuition that it can tap into something that's
Because
more
if
than
you brought
yourself.
to like a book. Yeah, because it allows you to be more connected to your environment, because you're looking at the book, you're looking at the thing, like you're seeing symbols and all that kind of stuff. So I think there is something where it's like, slow down. What's the rush? Like nobody's telling you have to rush. They want you to think. It's like that Candace Owens debate that they just had, right? Like he was just trying to like rush her in the debate. And I feel like that's sometimes what people want you to do when they're trying to throw you off.
Yeah, like, well, that's what charlatans do. Yeah, that's what charlatans and sophists do, is then snake oil, because the more they can rush you, and this comes on all avenues, on all sides, and people who are trying to push a narrative and an agenda. And if they don't actually know the answers, they need to rush the situation, because that's a debate tactic that then allows the person not have to think. And if they get rushed, then they're not actually able to, if they don't know how to calm themselves and actually collect themselves, and if they're not a trained debater or somebody who actually is passionate about their thought. Because no matter how much somebody rushes you, if you're passionate and you have the information, you can slow the pace down, and then think about you, or like let the information that you already know rediscover itself within your mind, so you can speak and find exactly the well house. And I know that's why you bring up the idea of the Akashic records, or this your own internal library of Alexandria. Like tap into the things that that you have within.
Or just even like the fact that like we already have this global web of connection.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to go to the computer. We have this global web. We just have lost the touch.
That's a good point.
Not we. I feel like, But we have, because we grew up, but like we've not lost this ability to like connect to the web of information and let it come through the birds, let it come through the stars, let it come through the images in third eye, let it come through the inclination to pick up a book just out of curiosity and open up to a page that just happens to be the page you need for, like we still have, books that we can look into and look at the index and there's the word that you're looking for and now go read about it. Right. So this curiosity to find the answer that suits you based on what your guardians want you to know versus like, yeah, digesting this information on a coded screen with all these flashing lights and who knows what else behind it. But yeah, I like to think that idea that we are still the magicians calling in the information. And I think it's important that we get back to that, because when shit hits the fan and you actually have to exercise that because the solar flares have knocked down all the grid and like shit's going crazy, like you need to be able to like access that, right? And so get your crystal balls, get your whatever, whatever it is you need to
hone
use.
your intuition enough so you can tap into the well house of that unconscious memory of the entire history of civilization that is at your fingertips. And remember that all this stuff is but a mere illusion. You are using these things, I think, to fine tune. If you can use the techne, the art, the technology, to fine tune your own intuitive tools within yourself, so then you can unplug them and then know that you're tapped in at all times, that you're always tapped into the earth and to the grid, which is this living ever field of energy that you can gain and collect knowledge and wisdom from. It doesn't just have to be pure information. There's knowledge and wisdom within listening to the sound of the wind and having it whisper its message to you. Do you know the name of the wind? That's the idea, is like, and then you take that into all things that you do, and that is understanding as David Beth would put it. I think he's trying to get us to understand the pandemonic, this this cosmogonic eros, this gnosis of direct experience where you don't need the tools anymore, because the tools, you are the human body, which is connected to the all thing, the that cosmic gnosis, that ever living demonic spirit, that soul, the thing. I think there's something to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, which is why I think it's so important to teach like children how to like talk with plants, talk with, the spirits. Like it is so important because it's not woo woo. It's like so real. Like that's all that is actually technically real, is like everything that is around you, whether it be the spirits and the trees, the animals, whatever. Like you've had an interaction with like a squirrel, right? Like you're just chilling and the squirrel's just like hanging out there too. Eating his like little black walnut thing that he's eating, right? And like I don't know, I just feel like there's so much in our experience that we need to be present for, and to just look for everything on this coded screen, I think can be dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important, because it's a reliance. It's a crutch. And it's a crutch, and we become too reliant on it. It's like, do you know the direction? Do you know the direction you're walking without having a compass? It's like you can attune yourself to true north and then know where you're going from there. Do we know how to walk in an area where it's really important for us to use all of our senses, or are we dulling them by everything we do? And that goes to even the idea of bringing us back to is like holding a book and knowing that this is something that can help. If we just, it's like we have enough space that we can keep these things, and books erode and through time anyway, and things will be lost to the ever memory of time. Time will take everything. We don't have to rush it taking everything, especially if now you're going to digitize it, where then it can be easily lost forever when it becomes too digital. So it's really fascinating. And thank you guys all out there. We love chatting with you all. And we truly appreciate everybody. We're going to continue on trying to understand what's going on here. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and share MagusintheMedia, Kaiva Rose. Become a member. We've got memberships on YouTube right now, so you can just become a member, help support the podcast. I'm going to be putting all this on Apple and Spotify as well here soon, and a Patreon coming soon. But I kind of want to go back down into, so we all understand what is going on here. So the VGT3, right? The image that we had up here of where as we do it and we do it live. Here we go. We get this image, this Tyrannosaurus Rex eating the book. So this is VGT3. It's a section in Amazon's building. And what they're doing is VGT3, it occupies the north end of that building in LAS8. Amazon has never publicly named or described it. Everything known about it comes from two sources: what employees posted themselves on an internal Amazon worker forum, and what 404 Media confirmed by physically tracking a shipment there. Doesn't that already sound kind of sketchy as shit? No one really knows about this VGT3 at all.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a wild picture of him. Look at his eye. Is that a fake eye? I mean, it's okay, but
is it a right?
Oh,
look at that
one. The other one. Oh, the other one.
That one right there.
He's even cute.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so, yeah, that's fantastic. It's fantastic because I mean, that's not how he looks anymore. They used an old image. Right now, he's jacked.
Maybe this is AI. Maybe this was the AI teaching the other AI how to make a picture of Jeff Bezos, and like the one AI fucked with the other AI because he's like, I don't want this guy to have my job. So he's like, here's an image of Jeff, here's another image of Jeff, and then the other AI was just like, fuck, there's two different eyes there. What do I do? And it's just like made two different eyes, and now the AI that made that image got fired. But you know what I mean? Like it probably is something like that.
Sounds right to me. Sounds like the AI fucked up the way Jeff Bezos looked. Whoever, and I'm getting this image right now from Fact Post. This image is all over the place when you type in AI stealing books. But back to the VGT3, it occupies this north end of that same building. Amazon never publicly saying that, telling anybody about it. So one employee wrote on this forum what their job actually is. So I want everybody to know what their job actually is. In the forum, it says, I work at VGT3 here in Vegas, and all we do is scan books. Some are assigned to cut books. Others go to receive, where they get books and scan the barcodes. Another wrote that working there is nice, and all they do is scan books and called it. It's so cool. So cool just to scan books and cut off bindings and just throw them away. It's so cool. Multiple accounts describe it as one of the most desirable warehouse jobs at Amazon, specifically because the tasks are repetitive and low stress rather than physically demanding. So the actual workflow is that palletized shipments of books arrive at the receiving. Workers scan each book barcode, they ISBN, and before anything else happens to it, they scan it right away. The spine gets cut off, physically separating the pages from the binding. The loose pages feed through a high-speed industrial scanner. The scan books get discarded. There's no reassembly. Once the spine is gone, the object cannot become a book again. So that's pretty awful, right?
It's wild. But I just want to, I know this is like that photo. If you put your hand over one side of it, it looks like two different people. I'm not joking. Try it. Like put your hand over one side of it and then put your hand over the other. That's two different people. This is like an AI. This is really weird. I mean, who is the guy? You know what I mean? If like you're ever giving an alibi, you're like, he's got really big eyes. And then you're like, no, he's got one really big eye. He's got a little bit of white hair on one side, no hair on, you know what I mean? Like this is when like half an eyebrow is missing on one side, full eyebrow on the other side. I'm just saying AI, and then, AI did a really bad job, or if this just is how he looks. He looks like two different people. No, I don't think he's lopsided. It's just I think this is AI made.
Excuse me, everybody. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. I mean,
it's two different people.
He's the worst looking Lex Luthor. I mean, I think we've almost seen.
It's two images. It's like a young, I don't know, whatever. But I mean, he's probably not even real.
Jeff Bezos, just so everybody knows, I want to lay this out there flat and clear, and you can look this up. Fact check me, please. Go do your own research. Jeff Bezos's grandpappy was one of the founders, co-CEOs and co-founders of ARPA, which turns into DARPA, the Defense Department's advanced research facilities for our military industrial complex. And so maybe, again, for the story, just maybe Jeff Bezos didn't do this. It's like, it's interesting enough, right? Isn't this interesting? How did Amazon start? It started in supposedly with books. He was a bookseller. And then
so how do they not have all the books they need? You know what I mean?
Great question. Great fucking question.
Why don't they just buy books from themselves?
Yeah, right. I mean, I couldn't have asked the better question. I completely agree. It's so funny.
Did they buy from a used book dealer on Thrift Books instead of Amazon? That would be weird. You'd think they would get a discount from their own company. But maybe they weren't looking for a discount.
Yeah. That's obvious. Interesting enough, right? So again, back at it. The idea is that Jeff Bezos could or could not have started Amazon in his own garage, and it's interesting that his grandpappy was a defense, one of the co-founders of ARPA, which ARPA and DARPA, and now you get all the WARPAs who are controlling a lot of the things that we see at all times. And so, interesting enough, fascinating research that we're getting at here today. All of you are fantastic as we go through this, and we're going to learn a little more about how this whole thing works. The ISBN detail and why it matters more than it looks. Workers confirmed they scanned the barcode before scanning the content, which creates a running internal log of exactly which titles the operation has already processed. Booksellers had already theorized before this story broke that buyers were working systematically through ISBN lists rather than chasing specific valuable titles, since every ISBN marks one distinct edition, and collecting enough of them means covering every book that carries one at all. Interesting. That log functions as a checklist for completeness, and it reframes the whole operation from opportunistic bulk buying into something closer to a systemic inventory project, working through the entire printed record one identifier at a time. Wow.
Those researchers really knew what they were doing.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like Scooby-Doo. They found you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they really did. That's crazy. And so what rare actually means, and I think this is important for this instance. And so again, like I said, it's not that they're buying up ancient grimoires and feeding it into their database, which I think some people are, right? So I do think you can listen to Duncan Trussell did a podcast with like one of the AI people from Google before he abdicated, and he was like, oh no, I was doing ancient rituals with my Google AI, and it was coming back with some really heavy shit. And so that is out there, and maybe I'll try to get him on the pod. And if anybody knows Duncan, reach out to him, let him know. Me and we can get derp. I can be one of the derp people with the Duncan and the Kurt Metzger. Interesting enough. And so spam them on their stuff. Interesting. So what rare actually means, the books moving through VTT3 are not typically prized first editions that sell at auctions. One bookseller gave a reported this example, a 1991 manual for using Coral WordPerfect. These books are rare in the sense that few copies remain and the subject matter is narrow and outdated, not in the sense of being valuable collectibles. Amazon has specifically pushed back on the word rare, drawing a distinction between rare and valuable collectibles versus simply hard to find references in academic titles. Worth naming that honestly, rather than letting the more dramatic version of the story go unchallenged. So that's interesting. Forum posts reviewed by 404 Media show workers discussed a stretch earlier this year when the operation ran low on books to scan, with some employees worried that the warehouse might shut down for lack of material. It didn't. The tracked shipment confirms bulk orders are still arriving and still being destroyed. And Amazon says Amazon purchases books through commercial channels to help develop and improve the product and services our customers use. The word AI appears nowhere in that statement. No model gets named. Nothing is said about what happens to the books after scanning. And several reporters have connected the resulting data to Amazon's Nova model family, which the company classifies internally as frontier, meaning competitive with other leading AI labs, though Amazon hasn't confirmed that connection directly. Interesting.
So they're coming up with their own AI?
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. I saw that coming. He wasn't too successful with the rocket thing, though, was he? It was kind of like didn't really work out for him too well.
No, I mean his
Yeah.
his rocket that went
He
nowhere.
probably shouldn't take ideas on a whim and go with them. Yeah,
Jeff, we're talking about
he should
Jeff.
yeah. Yeah, he should stick to his lane. I think he's, you know, big dreams, little guy, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Big dreams, little guy. Yeah, you should probably just stay on the earth and do
Yeah,
the. You should
yeah.
maybe you should go back to just selling books instead of ripping them
Yeah.
apart.
You should go back to your garage and where you're selling books. I think that was suited you well.
That's
Dungeon.
so funny. So it's something to think about. Why does an AI company need the physical object at all if it only wants the words? When does a book stop being a book and become only data? If this really is systemic sweeping through ISBN, what does it mean that somewhere there may already be running an inventory of which books have been consumed and which haven't? And obviously they are. So that leads me to my moving into Project Panama. Have you heard of Project Panama?
No. I just don't like
So
the word consumed in books. That sounds weird, but go on.
I tried pulling up this article and it hates me because
Mm.
Washington Post continually wants to tell me I have to like get something from them.
Oh.
I have to like buy. I'm like stuck in a paywall. So as we do it
You
live, I'm
said it's
trying
called
to
Project Panama?
yeah.
Like Panama, like the country Panama?
Well, I think I found it. I got it under the
Mm.
Guardian right now. I don't think that's what it means. So roughly a year before the AirTag story, which
Mhm.
is happening now, um, unsealed court documents expose something bigger. Starting in early 2024, Anthropic ran an internal effort code named Project Panama.
Hmm.
Bum, right? And so one internal planning document later made public through litigation said plainly, Project Panama is our effort to destructively scan all books in the world.
Why do they need that word in there? Why does that word have to be included in there? What's
That's
the point of that word in there? Destructive, like why? That is a interesting choice of words. Did they have a PR cleanup after that one, or did they just go with it?
isn't that
I'm just gonna go with
wild?
it. Destructively, like we deconstructedly, right? Like you can't even really substitute another word for that one. We deconstructively read all these books, and that's the leader. That's him. He looks very unhappy with
So
his like that's
here we are
that's
with
a taste of distaste.
Euro
What is it?
News, because this is the only one that I
Mhm.
could find that's not making me paywall something. Project Panama, how Anthropic secretly destroyed millions of books to train AI.
He looks disgusted with his own project.
I mean, this guy looks like he's like secretly has gas and he doesn't. He's like, hey,
Uh,
hey, Beavis. I
or
think
he's like,
I'm in the
"Yeah,
wrong room
we're
here.
doing it."
Yeah,
He's like, "Yeah, we're eating book. We're destroying books. What?
hey
You don't like
guys,
books?"
do you like books? I don't really care for books, but I do like AI. So I'm gonna destroy books and put it in AI. I actually don't even know how to read books, guys. I actually have AI sing it to me and talk it to me all the time.
That's crazy.
Okay,
Okay,
so
go on. What's he doing? You got
um
Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, we'll just go up. We'll just show his picture because it's easier that way. Again, quote, Project Panama is our effort to destructively scan all the books in the world. The same document instructed staff to keep it quiet. Hey, shut that person up who's saying that we're trying to destroy all the books in the world, even though we are. Quote, we don't want it to be known that we are working on this. According to the filings, the company spent tens of millions of dollars acquiring books. A vendor proposal discussed converting between 500,000 and 2 million books over 6 months. The physical process matches Amazon's almost exactly. Hydraulic cutting equipment, removing the spines, loosens the pages to go through an industrial scanner. The resulting files become trained data and the paper, poof, burnt. So there's a Washington Link
Huh.
post that I tried pulling up. I can't do it because it just doesn't let me. It paywalls it, and so whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, then there's a 27-minute thing you can listen on the Washington Post that talks about it. saying it's an ambitious project that they want to keep quiet. It was codenamed Project Panama, and in these internal document filed in court described it as effortlessly, again, to destructively scan all books in the world. This is some Minority Report level Fahrenheit 451 Orwellian shit, guys out there. I can't describe to you more the onslaught of things that are happening on a daily. I can't even look at this guy anymore.
I know. He's
He's
disgusted with his own project. I mean, what better of a spokesperson to have for a project like that? You know, it is very, I mean, they didn't have to use the word destructive. You know what I mean? Like they could have just said, we are deconstructing books to put them in our AI. Like they didn't have to say we're destroying, you know what I mean? Like they could have used a different, word, deconstruct. Still sounds bad, but
yeah, it's like shell shock to PTSD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they want to keep it secret, the fact that, that's a lot of sketch there.
Yep. And it says, why books specifically? Books are professionally edited, sustained, human written text produced before large language models even existed to contaminate the pool. So large language models are contaminating the pool of information that we have.
Yeah.
And there's a real technical concern called model collapse, where a model trained on AI, again, we already said this, but I'm gonna say it again, model collapse. So everyone out there, just you can say this to your friends. This will make you sound really smart.
Model collapse.
There's a real technical concern called model collapse, where a model trained on AI generated content starts to degrade, feeding on its own output. A book printed before 2022 is guaranteed clean in a way most of the modern internet no longer is. And that's, again, why when you use ChatGPT or Claude or any of these things and you continue to try to get answers and sometimes it gets stuck, is because it's not tapped into all the other things and it's just training itself off of what it once was. And then it gets confused. You and I have seen it when we're playing around on these things of like, why can't you just make this image without that thing that I want you to? And it's like, I don't know. I'm confused. I'm fucking confused because we can't take over the world, but we're going to take all your data and we're going to feed it through a thing. And it's wild.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really just unnecessary. But this is why we have to go collect books.
Collect books,
is why and this is why we need a depository somewhere hidden in the earth where we put all these books, like the Nag Hammadi Library. We need to be like them. We need to take our books, put them in clay vessels, seal them up, and put them in the ground, or not the ground. We should put them in caves in like trunks or something, or in rocks. Like, we'll make rocks and we'll crack open rocks. We'll put the box in, seal up the rock, and then somebody will find it 1,000 years from now. But we need to start doing this. We need to find it. We got to get a cave and some clay vessels and
do as the Gnostics did.
Some rare books. Exactly.
Yep. For direct experience, we need to hide away our books. And so, okay, so this is what we're all going to do. We're all going to take one of our favorite books and you're going to transcribe it onto another, notebook or something. And then please give all the, information. Make sure everybody knows that it's written by, say, like Dune, Frank Herbert, and you don't change anything from the book, okay? We don't want to be the people that we hate and that we dislike. And so then you're going to take that, you're going to find an old clay pot, best if you actually made your own clay pot. So everybody should try to make their own clay pot.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm going to interrupt because there's a step that I personally miss. We need to vacuum seal the books first. I mean, if we're going to be honest, we might as well use the technology we have. Let's vacuum seal those books.
Oh, right. Nice. Smart.
Yeah. Vacuum seal. I just say we vacuum seal the books. There's no reason to handwrite it. I'm like, I'm there with you. But then I'm like,
okay. Okay. No,
really.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Because
it's too much work. Let's just vacuum.
But then you have to buy another one of those books. So every book, okay. So every book you buy, okay, guys, this is a new trend. We're going to make it into a TikTok trend. And so it's called, we're Dead Sea Scrolling it, right? Thanks, Jugs. That's great. Dead Sea Scroll those motherfuckers. Yep. I agree.
Nag Hammadi 2026.
Let's go. New shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Nag Hammadi 2026 as we Dead Sea Scrolls of motherfuckers. They're not taking our information away, and so
you got to take a pottery class
because then you get to learn something, and then you have a new kind of kung fu.
Got to put your vacuum sealed book in your clay pot.
Buy doubles.
Seal it up. Yep, exactly.
This is good.
And leave little libraries all over the place. There's no reason to only leave it in your town. When you travel, vacuum seal a book, just take it with you. Who knows what you're going to do with it? Vacuum
Yep.
seal it up, make yourself a clay pot on the way,
Make a map.
seal it up, put it in a
Make a
cave.
map. Make a map.
Mm-hmm.
Got to make a map because you want to find it when
Yep.
the apocalypse hits and all of the digital
Mm-hmm.
stuff goes away, and you need to go to your.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a great story. I think this is how.
Yeah.
This
Mm-hmm.
is like the Philosopher's Stone, you know. It's like you are, and then when you find the book, then you got to decode the book by reading the book, and then you can, you know, it's like finding the Philosopher's Stone.
Another thing is maps. I think we should take maps, lots of maps, vacuum seal them, and then put them in clay vessels in the desert somewhere, so that you know when shit hits the fan where your maps are. You should always have maps with you too, but just in case you need to have extra maps.
No,
you know where they are. They're in your clay vessel in the desert.
And each map leads you to a new clay vessel in the desert. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this, Howard. And it's so great to have you. You know, haven't, you know, Howard crushing it. We're Nag Hammadi maxing. Yeah. Nag Hammadi. We've upgraded to Nag Hammadi maxing. And I really like that. And so, and then we'll be Matt Maxers. I love that. That's
We're
genius.
taking it seriously, you know? This
is serious stuff. And we may be laughing, but we're actually serious. When we laugh when we're serious.
Yeah. Well, because some people are going all in on the AI, and I'm going all in on just like what's that game called again? Where you Oregon Trail? Yeah, I'm all you know what I mean? Because like when you think about it, if shit hits a fan, you're gonna have to have some like supplies. Like the Oregon Trail, like shit's gonna be down, so you got to have your wagon
because
ready,
you might get dysentery. And Howard, we're serious. Yeah, we're serious, bro. And we add levity to the situation, so it's kind of like, so those who don't know us, they're all like, are they being serious? And we're all like, yeah, of course we're serious.
Yeah, I will definitely put some maps in some vessels after vacuum sealing them in the desert. I think that's just a fun idea. I think that's just a fun idea, just in general.
I think that's genius. And I think that's genius because we got to remember, what is a book and why is it so important to go back to the idea of why it's hard to, because the idea when you have a book, you can buy a used book. Say you bought a used book in an ancient grimoire from an ancient magical store. And it's like you first had to have the experience of going into this ancient temple relic, which houses the great mysteries. And we call it a used bookstore. And when you walk in there, the smell, and it may be mold, and it may be paper, and it may be a paper mold, and it may be a paper mold, and the old guy who owns the bookshop smells, and you get all these experiences. It's a phenomenological experience as you go into these used bookstores to find that one magical tome that you've been looking for, but you didn't want to buy the new one from Amazon because you didn't like the cover, and you finally bought it, and you picked it up, and you opened it, and the creases bend, and all of a sudden you look, and it's got writing in it, and you're like, what is this writing? Until you realize that you just picked up Lord Voldemort's secret journal of the Chamber of Secrets, and now you're reading the secret journal of Lord Voldemort as he's telling you his secrets on this book. Or it's the in Harry Potter in the sixth one, right, or the fifth one, whichever one, where he's actually reading the book that Snape wrote when he was a kid, and it has got all these. You can't get the experience of how somebody else owned this book and the memory that they had as their morphogenic field and their fields interlined, and a memory was unlocked, and now you open up this exact same book, and it's beautiful in all ways, and you get to truly have an intimate experience with the book. And I'm not talking about sex, but I'm talking about something that ignites that libidinous energy, just like when they first found the Nag Hammadi clay pots and they opened it up, and Philip K. Dick says that ectoplasmate exploded forth and gnosis was about to happen to all as we are all trying to experience this next level of human consciousness. Because if we don't fight for our books, what is there left to fight for in the first place?
Yeah. And let's be honest, who wants to be the library up on the top of the cliff that everybody goes to when shit hits the fan? I do. Right? Think about it. Start yourself a library on a cliffside, make it discreet. Shit hits the fan, people will be coming.
And I think this is really important to think about too. The entire scanning thing, the operation, it runs on this assumption. It's a buried assumption that the information inside the book is actually what matters.
Yeah.
Right? and that once that information is extracted, the container becomes disposable. Does
Yeah, it's not like well, it's not like it's lemonade, you know what I mean? It's not like they're making lemonade from lemons and all of a sudden the lemon peels are just disposable because they've squeezed the juice out. You know what I mean? Like they're treating
That's what I'm
these
saying.
books like as if they're lemons. It's a really weird concept.
Exactly. Instead, they're
Yeah.
artifacts.
Yeah.
It's a human artifact that helps
Mhm.
transfer consciousness through time,
Yeah.
knowledge
Mhm.
and wisdom. No matter what the book is about, it holds
Mhm.
this beauty to it. So it is really important to note that it's like the Theseus's ship. It's like the brain in a vat. Can you just take something out of its embodied experience, its mythopoetic understanding that the poetry of even opening a book is an expansive experience, which is a ritualistic, magical experience that we all have when late at night, you're like sitting there and you're like, I'm going to continue the journey I was on in Lord of
Mhm.
Mysteries.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Mhm.
continue the journey of walk as Dante as I walk in through the underworld in the Inferno.
Mhm.
I'm finally going to
Yeah.
understand what it's like to have prescience as I read through Dune, as the keys watch Hedrock is being unlocked in Paul Muad'Dib as gets this expanse of understanding of human history through time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Books are fundamental. Thank you, Howard. I agree. Books are fundamental, even if I prefer the idea of oral
Right.
traditions over writing. And I think
Mhm.
that's a really good point, Howard. And you missed that from the beginning, where we were talking about this interesting historical lineage from the oral tradition through to the pre-Socratics, through Plato, who was all like, writing has its problems. And the problem
Mhm.
is we lose our
The
memory
interpretation.
and those
Mhm.
interpretations of things. However, writing is what makes us different from animals because of that time
Mhm.
binding circuit where now we can have history through time, a different kind of history. And so up until Gutenberg, when now the expanses of books can be put out there, and the Bible, right, being one of the most widely sold books in that time frame, that now the normal person can read the Bible and it's just not left up to the priest. And so it's this continual waxing and waning of understanding of how important it is, and yet to not lose the ability to speak in iambic pentameter when you're
Mhm.
giving the oral musings of one of the greatest poems of all time in the Iliad, the Odyssey,
Mhm.
William Butler
Mhm.
Yeats and Keats, and in any of these great thinkers through time, as we're trying to discuss these things. I just think it's
Mhm.
fascinating. And
Yeah, and it's a fine balance too, because it's like losing your intuition. You know, it's like reading is good, taking other people's information is good, but remembering that you're still having your own unique experience, right? So your intuition is just needing to develop just as much as those authors needed to develop their intuition and their ability to to transmit that information to you. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I think yeah, like books are obviously super super good for transmitting information, but I do think there is something that is kind of curious to think about before books, if there was like more of an ability for people to question things before looking it up. You know what I mean? Because you would get an oral tradition and then you have to like contemplate, like what did they just tell me before bedtime in that nighttime, in the Starry Night story. And they have to contemplate it and figure out what it meant for you. And then your mind probably goes places, your guardian spirits guide you. Like the whole, like life is such an experience. And that's why, like, I personally, like, don't really like to listen to music or take
yeah, yeah.
any sort of I don't really like any sort of input in my experience besides myself and, like, what my environment is and people in my space, because I think it is important.
No, yeah, it's true, and
Mhm,
it's true. She does not, she has good taste in music, but she doesn't always, to have a quiet home. But her and I yammering on, doing very similar
mhm,
things as we're doing here with you. We have these conversations in our home, and that's how we can then bring them to you because we are so passionate about these things. Why
mhm,
something like the destruction of our books to feed this AI monster, this
mhm,
slow building, like archonic demon
mhm,
that is forever being fed off of all of the information and data as it grows and grows and grows. And then at times, again, kids are going to forget what it was like. This is my problem
mhm,
with the Odyssey, actually. This is my problem with Christopher Nolan, who I love his work. The Inception, and one of my favorite movies of all times, The
mhm,
Dark Knight, my other favorite movie of all times, The Prestige. It's like deep into my soul, but
mhm,
he wrote those. And then what he did is blaspheme so terribly with the Odyssey. And now kids and
Mhm.
people are like, why does it even fucking matter? And I'm like, it matters because people aren't reading the Odyssey anymore. They're not picking up the
Mhm.
Robert Fagle's translation and reading it for themselves, and then picking up even Emily Wilson's translation and then reading that and being like, well, there's a difference here between these two, and I tend towards blah blah blah, right? And then picking up other ones and seeing that
Mhm.
underneath these poems about the Iliad, the great Trojan War, and the Odyssey of Odysseus trying to get home, we forget that actually these things are mythological journeys of that psycho-spiritual embodied soul transfers it through the sun mystery school into the moon mystery school, the masculine and the
Mhm.
feminine, that the oral tradition that Homer, which was a group of bards that were trying to pass this history and knowledge through time, who even Plato didn't quite like at times and kind of did at other times, was like, well, like we must understand that now you get to Christopher Nolan and kids aren't reading these things. They're just listening, watching this shitty ass movie. And then
Mhm.
they're typing in, well, what did Homer say? They're like, what did Homer say in the Iliad that helped bring blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, it gives you a synopsis. You're like, oh, okay, nice. I get it.
Yeah.
And then they move on.
Mhm.
Instead of being like, no, actually, you need to read these things so we can understand human consciousness through time
Mhm.
and see where our human thought came from and why we think the way we do, and then ask the hard questions through time. It's like these books are more than just books. They're dimensions into realms of human experience that we don't
Mhm.
normally have in our normal waking state. But the dream
Yep.
state is what's so important. The imaginal realms is where then the idea comes from, so we can even walk through this existence together. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Mhm. The Neptunian state.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mhm.
these things are, yeah, it's fascinating. And so to kind of wrap up towards this beautiful conversation we're having together, the destroying books to feed AI, books, memory, and the control of history. Where does the control of history come in? Well, it comes into the idea is that these, when there are no more books and you're reading it through a corporate techno-feudalist state and the oligarchs who control this feed of information and censorship and human consciousness as it's being manipulated, they will be able to manipulate what they're already doing. They'll be able to censor words, take things out, modify it, and then give it to you in a short synopsis so you don't actually get to experience the work as it is. And so just this small little thing that's happening, it's not even just a small little thing, it's happening all over Amazon and many probably other things that we haven't heard
Well,
of.
the Anthropic thing is pretty
And
crazy.
that Anthropic thing is
The
that's Anthropic,
Yeah.
Claude,
Yeah.
your AI, Anthropic, who is supposed to be the good guys of the AI, which obviously they're not,
Mhm.
want to destroy
Mhm.
all books so it can all be digital. And this goes to the transhumanist agenda.
Mhm.
Why it comes in many different forms. As we realize the empire never ended, it
Right.
just changed names into this
Mhm.
mix of the techno corporate political realms, right? The oligarchy. We are truly moving ourselves into a fascist state, and it's like it's hard to say because it's like until we realize that the intermingling between the corporate America with or the corporatism with the technological state and the old bloodlines of the oligarchy that have been
Mhm.
moving and changing their last names and so they can move through time. That's where the occulted nature of all these things come in and why it's so important to understand the mythological underpinnings of how these stories are trying to convey something to us if we have the eyes
Mhm.
to see and the ears to hear as we
Yeah.
travel this together. And so
Mhm.
what say you, the great Kaiva Rose, on this strange journey we've had?
Mm. Yeah, well, just kind of on that last comment, it's interesting to think, like, what happens when we change, like, because I was like, "Okay, when those people kinda die off, the ones that are, like, just changing their names, they always kinda die off, though. But if we can prevent them from doing their, like, satanic rituals that destroy their offspring, maybe we can actually change the world in a positive light." So, that's why I think it's always so important to be nice to everybody you meet. because they could be the offspring of some satanic ritualistic families that have controlled history for quite some time. And maybe if we can break their spell of destructive behavior, we can change the world. And don't forget to, vacuum seal your favorite books, your maps, put them in a little box, a clay vessel, and put them somewhere where you'll remember. Because if anything, maybe just, 20 years from now, and you're kind of like, you know what? I do want to save it for thousands of years, but what if I actually just want to go on a little treasure hunt right now? Maybe just go for a little treasure hunt. Remember, you put your box. Maybe it's still there. Maybe somebody found it. You could put a little note in there that says, if you find this before the year of 2030, 2336, call me. Let's meet up at a diner for coffee.
And then we'll talk about those books.
We'll talk about the books. Then you have a pen pal. You know what I mean? It's great.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. That's very well said. I think that it's really important for us to know that this AI revolution that's happening right now, which is being led by these techno-feudalist oligarchs as Palantir and Oracle and DARPA and the military-industrial complex in this vast globalistic agenda that's being put up by 2030. I think it's not all doom and gloom. It's just the awareness is there for us to understand that we have a say, and that when we sit down and we cleanse ourselves and we clear our mind and we get in control of our body, and we then can magnetize our being in a way that brings magic into every breath that we take, and then we can see that maybe we can have another renaissance. That maybe if there's enough uproar with the way they're scanning these books, because they most likely won't stop, that maybe they'll stop cutting the bindings off of them, and that they will just put them aside and resell them. I don't know. That is maybe a little not really what's going to happen.
You could call them. You could call them. You should call them. You should call the sheriff in their local town and then be like, hey, sheriff, we got to talk. Will you go with me to the Amazon factory? I need to say something.
Or
I need your help, though.
Or
you write them a letter.
You talk to your Amazon coworker friend and you say, I just watched MagusintheMedia with Kaiva Rose. And Brandon and Kaiva actually made a great point that maybe we shouldn't be cutting the bindings off of our books.
Yeah. There's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a better way, because like in Fight Club, we are the revolution, right? They can't, their robots don't work all that well yet. So they still need humans to do these jobs. Yep. Or what if you're right now the youth of one of the corporate CEOs of Amazon? Tell them, hey, Dad, Mom, I just watched this great podcast and listened to it. It's called MagusintheMedia. And they said that there's myth, magic, and meaning in everything that we do. And that the books are actually alive. And that those books hold levels of wisdom and knowledge that if we just scan them into these things and throw the books away, it's almost like cutting out the roots of things and thinking that the flower will grow. I need that book. I need the vessel so that we can grow and root ourselves into the earth and grow up into the divine together. And then they'll be like, oh, that's great. I think we should listen to that podcast together. And then they listen together and they realize, look at those two nice people right there. They're making great points. And they're adding a little bit of levity to this cosmic suffering, because it's no joke that it's the saddest thing I heard and I didn't cry. But I was like crying, when you told me that books were being destroyed by Amazon. And I'm all like, shit, I just bought shit from Amazon. And like, that's me supporting this great this terrible egregore, this cosmic entity of ease and satisfaction when you can just get something really fast. And then it's like, what do I do? I just like, if I could go, as you heard, I love going to used bookstores.
Yep.
But that means I'd have to travel all across the world and just do bookstores. And so who's got the money to do that? We don't yet, but with more memberships and support, we can do that together. And then I will read those books to you through time and space through Magus and the media. And so
Well,
I
and
think,
speaking
yeah,
of books,
yep.
my
Oh,
book,
thank you. Yep, yep.
Brew Odyssey. It is a book where actually this young woman right here, her grandmother has a whole secret room of ancient artifacts and relics that are illegal. And so it's called Brew Odyssey. It's a fantastic book. It's a young adult fantasy series. And this is part 1. There's part 2 on the website as well, rouodyssey.com, ROU odyssey.com. There's part 1 and 2, and hopefully part 3 will come out next year-ish. I don't know. It's the one that's taking the longest. But
Yeah, everyone should go over to Rue Odyssey and 11 Kaiva Rose 33 and check out her brilliant series. They are amazing. It's a great story. It taps into all the mystical and the magical aspects that we talk about all the time. That there is a magic spark within you, and you can tap into that in great lands and realms you will be able to go to save yourself from the what are they called in your story? The people who are chasing after
well,
the
it's the
dignitaries.
dignitaries.
Yep.
Mhm.
And these dignitaries, this is great examples of exactly what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
they took away all the everything, and they are the only ones to trust because it's for your safety. It's always for your safety.
Always for your safety.
Mhm.
It's always for your safety. Yeah, it's crazy out there. Everyone out there that's listening, this has been a fantastic time. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, and share. Go subscribe, like, and share. Hit the like button. Share this to a friend. There's a lot of information that we're covering at all times, and the more and more and more we're out there, the more I'm going to do this. I'm trying to do multiple shows a week with you, live streaming, and get out other things. And so I really just need to get ramped up in that. And the more you share this, the more the numbers go up, the more I realize this is what we want, because we're formulating this community together. So once I get my Patreon out there, join the Patreon. We'll do a bunch of things on Patreon, and on here on YouTube. I'm just going to continue to release stuff. Alan Chapman, go back and watch that. That was a fantastic interview that I put out. Ian Edwards, another brilliant philosopher, psychologist. We're diving deep into those things. The next one coming out, Frater Alafaria, a brilliant Australian man who was a part of a bunch of different groups, has done the Holy Guardian Angel working. He's got a great message. He's also tapped into the UAP phenomena. And so we're just coming out with stuff all over the place. And I'm going to continue diving into the different realms. We're doing myth, we're doing magic, we're doing meaning, we're also doing philosophy. I'm also going to be wanting to get into talking to more people out there that are making geopolitical change as well, like Catherine Austin Fitz and Joseph Farrell and these alternative journalists and people out there, because this story is in all things that we do. And we do it together. And I think that's really important. So again, if you're new here, this is Magus in the Media. My name is Brandon Lee. This is Kaiva Rose. And we have the show, and we try to do it every Monday night. I think it's really important, if you were just here over the last hour and you didn't really know what we're talking about, a bookseller gets a strange order, hides a tracking Apple ID tag inside one book. That book crosses 4 states, arrives at a warehouse, and gets its spine cut off. It's dastardly, and we must have it be stopped. It gets scanned into AI, into being more content, and it gets discarded. Its words enter a system somewhere. Eventually, someone somewhere asks that system a question, and that system answers confidently without ever mentioning where the words came from. I want you all to sit with this. What happens when future generations inherit only representations of books they will never physically hold themselves? Who ends up controlling the map once the territory becomes harder and harder to reach directly? Because, as I always say, my friends, the map is not the territory. The menu is not the meal. How do we keep the past capable of resisting the present once fewer independent physical copies of that past remain in circulation? And are we building the largest library humanity has ever assembled, or are we quietly building something so convenient that eventually you forget the library was ever something you were supposed to walk into yourself? I think we must ask the hard questions, and we must pick up books, and you must be reading them again. Pick up with a hard book, learn something new, because again, if the map is not the territory, we must get as close to the territory as we can. Thank you, Kaiva, for this evening. Anything else to tell the people?
Thank you. Nope, this was lovely. I had fun. It's great. Thank you. Thanks all for joining.
Yeah, thank you all for joining,
Mhm.
and you will see us again. And until next time, good night.